I completely agree, and I want to discuss 2 points here. First, I think that women are attributed in Pakistan to do certain specific roles. They are meant to fill certain roles. I think, but whenever we are given the chance, or if not, we need to practice our intelligence. Besides that, I want to add one more point here, that oppression on women in Pakistan is justified mostly through convenient interpretations of holy text and hadith, etc. But I think most of the people in Pakistan seems to forget that Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wife, Hazrat Khadija, was a successful merchant, and she was strong, independent woman, and she proposed to Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And I think, how do we react today in Pakistan when a wife supports her husband, or let's say when a girl proposes to a boy, or if there is a gender age difference between them? I think we can't even picture it because the gender roles we teach don't subscribe to such ideas.
Yeah, that's a very well stated question. There's a big difference in philosophy, which is innately divine from our holy texts. The history of Islam actually is filled with a lot of women who took a lot of stands, very strong stands towards how they carried themselves, and how the social impact was created by them. And it was not a problem, which is, by the way, 1400 years ago, it's not a problem. And now we created a problem that Islam doesn't really allow women to actually create their own intellectual stance. And that actually is another proof as to how it is such a cultural matter. And again, right now we are under some sort of a philosophy. There's no way that we're not under a philosophy which is globally practiced. And that's a very neo-Marxist philosophy. I mean, it's my opinion, but I think more neo-Marxist philosophical effects are paying off their effects on us. And we know a very modernistic philosophical approach, which actually talks about gender equality a little too much, and it really blows it out of bounds, but it still does. And a very conservative philosophy, which is again taken out of bounds and actually puts a woman in a lot more isolation, even intellectually. So when you see all of that happening, you can see why we are locally confused. We're not religiously confused. We're locally confused. Religion itself has a lot more liberty to men and women, but again, we draw out a lot more boundaries from other realms, which is not natural at times. So when we look at examples of Khadija radiallahu anha, and we see that she was a source of a lot of power and strength to the Prophet ﷺ, and we can clearly see, and there's an argument that is made very clearly that she was a merchant before the advent of Islam. And yes, that is a good argument, but her courage and intellectual stance and the way she was carrying herself was given as an account by the Prophet ﷺ to rest of the people as to how much strength he got because of her intellectualism and her courageous social stance towards things. So I think if you look at it intellectually, you'll see that there's a lot more power to be had by women based on the kind of arguments. But women are not made to be intellectual thinkers, and that's where my prior argument is. Once they start thinking intellectually and they start going deeper into the philosophy of Islam, they'll find out that the biggest core of liberty and freedom of intellect is inside their own philosophy. But they keep on looking at the Western philosophy, which of course is just a reaction to socialism. And that's where collective identity and identity politics is being played, and you'll see a lot more side effects to that. And this is where the bigger problem is. And because Islam is not the alpha philosophy, Western philosophy, capitalistic philosophy is the alpha philosophy. So even if we are Muslim, we're not going to be practicing the philosophy of Islam. That's not serotonergically possible. So that's where the bigger problem is. So breed more thought into your daughters. Breed more thought and exercise that thought building into girls. and they'll find out Khadija within themselves. They'll find out Aisha within themselves. They'll find out the stance of how Fatima radiallahu anha, argued in the courts of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu within themselves. Women cannot do that now. And that's where the bigger problem is. And you'll see how Habiba had a very strong stance inside Ethiopia when she was, when she had migrated. When you see all of these examples, you actually get to see a totally different image of women. And then you see that the liberty of women was given by a very bigger philosophy, because you have to understand when Islam came, and you'll see that the inherent philosophy of that time, wherever they got it from, was so suppressive that Islam actually looks out to be the biggest feminist philosophy in the history of mankind, and in comparison to whatever was going on. So but we're back into the age of slavery now, the mental slavery where we actually suppress women beyond any other philosophy which was pre-Islamic, and we're not just enslaving the women, we're also enslaving the men as well. But it is going to have a way bigger payload on the women, and this is what you see going on everywhere.